My topic is Trump's tariff wars against his very close neighbours geographically, Canada and Mexico, and China, which is equal to him in economic strength and in a lot of other things. I would do it in two parts because really they are different. Now, before I begin to say something about the economics of these tariffs on Canada and Mexico, I would have to also acknowledge the fact that he himself, President Trump himself, has said that this is a way to punish them. One, for illegal immigrants, and two, for what he calls our drugs. So, when he himself has said that, in effect, that this is to bring maximum pressure on these two neighbours of his, on drugs, the flow of drugs, and on immigration, it is a little difficult to see how I could deal with it only from the point of view of economic sense, because he himself said that it is not there. And in the State of the Union message address, he said that this is not at all about revenue. This is about making America great again, MAGA. So that's the situation where we are dealing with something which he himself acknowledges is just an instrument of bullying and not an economic instrument. Well, there is no need for any surprise and no need for putting this whole thing on the Trumpian personality, because this has been the attitude of America all along from say, let's go to the today. Well, if you look at it, the whole American what we consider as America was out of grabbing land from the Native Americans. Leave that aside, but so far as this geography is concerned, from about 1840, the 40 to 43 is the American-Mexican War. The whole idea was to grab territory of theirs, Latin America. And at least 5 present US states are carved out of Latin America. So this kind of bullying and wanting to grab territory is there in the American, in the history of America. So really, and if you look at even the recent things like, not so recent, but how they bumped off Patrice Lumumba, how they bumped off Allende, I think, the leader in Chile, and how they have been taking out military leaders in Afghanistan and Iran, it is clear that they are having these bullying tactics and continuing that. That is their way. And to think that Trump is some kind of an aberration may not be quite fitting with the history of America. So that's one point I want to make, because sometimes this thing is a little overdone. Trump, of course, is an unusual personality, but then this has been the history of America. All those American military bases, 750 of them all over the world, What is it for but for bullying? So that's the point. Anyway, both Canada and Mexico have taken this as bullying, and the latest is that very strong nationalistic sentiments have been aroused in both these places. In other words, they are saying, if we have to suffer, we will suffer, but we will not submit ourselves to bullying. We are a nation, that kind of thing. We'll see how it plays out, but it is quite likely that this will be on again, off again thing, because this, particularly the auto car industry, the automakers, GM and Chevrolet and Ford and all of those big names of automakers, they're all there in Mexico. They've got companies there. And in a situation where supply chain matters, say for an automobile, it crisscrosses. It comes supply chain, manufactured as a part is fitted in and manufactured and sent here, and again the same thing is sent back, and again it comes back. So how many times are you going to clobber that product with tariffs? It just doesn't make any sense. And also the fact that tariffs at a time of supply chains is a contradiction. Economics, from the point of view of economics, because the foundation, the basic idea of supply chain, which may be from one country, another country, and still another country, that kind of supply chain, is that that country will supply that part or parts in a cost-effective way. So that is the efficiency, that is cost. Even automobiles, say, finally put together in Detroit, will have parts from Japan, from Germany, from Mexico, where of course the labor will be there, Canada. This is how the supply chain is managed. So a tariff of this kind is a tariff on efficiency, a tariff on the flow of the supply chain, a tariff on the supply chain. Therefore, in a manner of speaking, it doesn't really make any sense in these times. If at all tariffs have to be thought of, it has to be discussed across the table in the context of supply chains. Because when you impose tariffs at a time of supply chains, it means that you are probably imposing taxes on various geographies, not the ones you only want. There are various geographies involved in a supply chain management. So that is what it is. And what are the options for China and Mexico? Well, one thing is that they have announced counter tariffs. Counter tariffs in the sense that the goods or things that US sends them, they're going to impose tariffs. And that is one thing. But let's just look at it this way. Canada sends fresh vegetables, tomatoes, vegetables, and fruit and things like that. If you impose tariffs on that, you are straightaway increasing the cost and availability of those fruit and vegetables in the United States. So the whole system is such, it is based on comparative advantage. I buy things from you because that is cheaper, better for me, and you buy things from me because it is cheaper, more efficient than otherwise. So on this thing, it means that normally the American consumer will suffer in the long run. We have to see how it works out. Meanwhile, both Canada and Mexico are seriously thinking of diverting their products to other markets. If it comes to that they would do it. It is not easy, but they would do it because finally their products have to go to some other countries. If US says we are going to bully you on this, they are not going to take it lying down. They will find out some other way. It means pain for them, both both Canada and Mexico. But that would be how it will end up. Pain on Canada and Mexico, pain on US consumers, customers. And this is how it is. But I suspect that having given two extensions, two postponements of these same tariffs which Trump announced, in the space of these 20 or 15 days, two times, the first 1 month and now the second month, I would think that this is just a ploy to kind of make them suffer, make them dance to his tunes for a while, and put the maximum pressure and get whatever is good for the US. It may not work fully in his favor for the simple reason that when nationalistic feelings are aroused, after all, governments are responsible to the people, and what they say will matter. So we'll have to see how it is. It's not as though we can get back to old times between US and Mexico and US and Canada. They have seen that this trade is subject to bullying. That system has been disturbed, and it means it has permanent damage. It cannot get back, putting together like some Humpty Dumpty. It won't get back like that. Now we go to China. China is a different ball game altogether. On March the 5th, the Chinese Foreign Affairs spokesman said something like this: if it is war that the US wants, whether it is economic war or tariff war or whatever type of war, we are prepared to fight till the very end. Intimidation and bullying will not work with China. If anyone thinks that putting maximum pressure on China is the way, you have picked the wrong guy. These words mean exactly what they say. That is, if it is economic war, there will be other measures akin to war from the Chinese side. China has got some really strong, shall we say, cards, because Trump likes to see the whole game as a game of cards. Okay, so they have very strong cards. What is it I'm talking about? They have control over a lot of critical minerals and metals. And more importantly, they hold about 95 to 100% control, monopoly over refining these minerals and metals. The refining capacity of these metals and minerals, it is China, which has world monopoly. Nobody else has. That is why it is easy to see that we will, it's easy to say, it is easy to say that US will grab these minerals and metals from this geography or that geography. But what will you do if you don't have the refining capacity? And it is China which holds about 95% refining capacity. This is definitely a trump card for them. And they're going to play it. They've already started on it. And the pain of all that will come. It's not as though US, all these things like gallium, germanium, antimony, tungsten, molybdenum powder, all these things are required for high-tech industry, manufacturing industry, which has military applications, munitions, for example, and missiles, high-end chips, all that kind of thing. So, American industry will be well aware. When China has already put a stranglehold on the flow of these minerals and metals to the United States, that is economic warfare now replied in the same kind. So it is not going to be easy, this war between equals, because America must know that China is a superpower in its own right. They are number one in shipbuilding, in quantum communications, all that kind of thing, and then leaders in electric vehicles, a whole lot of things in which they are the leaders. They are number one. So, if America is starting an economic war, it is a war against clearly a power equal to them, and as most commentators say, the next number one power in about 15 years' time. Maybe it will become easier or earlier, considering the deep sea kind of thing that is happening, and the latest one, the Manus by Monica. So they got innovation, they can straight away quickly change the nature of the game. So that's how it is. The next strength of China rests in its control over the whole of supply chains, various types of manufacturing. The supply chains are controlled by China, and therefore if it means weaponizing these supply chains, China would do it definitely. As they have said it, you have picked the wrong guy, so they are going to do it. So if it is war, it is really, America will see that they are going to be in a state of war, and there are going to be countermeasures like this. So it's going to unfold like that. But before that, I would like to make the point that China has a more nuanced approach to this whole thing. It is not that kind of hasty approach. So they will be waiting and watching to see. They will not unleash the whole thing for the simple reason that China has stakes in United States prosperity, well-being, everything. Because look at it this way: China, from the moment an American citizen gets up to the time he goes to bed, Chinese manufactured goods are being used all over them. You start your toilet paper, your kitchen appliances, your plastic appliances, a whole lot of things that come the way, right up to whatever you go in terms of gadgets and everything else which makes life more comfortable. So the Chinese manufacture is intertwined with American life. So that is going to be an important thing, because they are not thinking definitely, they are not thinking of decoupling the American economy from theirs. They know that they are there and they will be there, that kind of thing. So that's one important thing. The second thing is that financially they are invested in the United States. Just about $780 billion are investments, Chinese investments in US treasuries. US treasuries are simply IOUs of the American government. And another 300 or so $billion in various investments in companies, US companies, and things like that. So nearly $1 trillion of investment. So they would see it as finally a matter of cooperation in international trade. But as the spokesman said, if you want war, we are prepared for it. So the onus is on the United States. And if they have anything like a policy, they would see the meaning of those words. That is, if you want war, we are ready, and we have got. Behind that we are ready is the fact that we control a lot of things, and you're going to see that your own national security will be affected. No less than national security will be affected, because we hold the refining capacity of and the availability of all those critical minerals and metals. So that is another thing they would have to know. While all this is going on, shall we say, all this talk of bullying and things like that, there was a very significant thing, not connected, not any way in response to it, but something that is indicative of what should be the future and what can be the future. Mrs. Stella Lee, Vice President of BYD, the leading Chinese electric vehicle manufacturer, said, and she was addressing Tesla and said, we should cooperate. Your company and ours should cooperate in facing a common enemy, and that is the internal combustion engine car. And together we will usher in a new future which the consumers will prefer. She added for good measure that politics is short term. What the consumer wants is the real thing. So this is the way the Chinese think. She also made it clear that China is always ready for cooperation. And that, of course, is a very sensible thing. That's how it will go into the future. There is also the fact that in the light of the very quick advancements that China is making in AI, and the recent one, which is autonomous AI, more like a general AI intelligence. They gave that is Manus from Monica. Not much is known about who founded it and all that, but very little that is known, because this happened only 2 days ago. this unveiling of this whole thing, and its shock waves in Silicon Valley. But whatever is known shows that, like DeepSeek, this is also homegrown, and everything from the founder and all those things are from Chinese education system. Now, they gave an example of that and see the possibilities of AI, general intelligence. That this is the typical example they gave, that if you want to plan a trip to Bali, well, you say your family and things like that what a plan, and this one, Manus will work out everything for you just as you would do, because it's a very important thing. You're taking your family to Bali. They work out everything, not only the locations, the safety, and the conveniences, every parameter apart from the fact of how to get there most efficiently, which hotels to check in, what will be the budget, everything, and everything, every possibility. And they would give you the finished recommendations and how they got into that, all of them detailed, and your recommendation, what it should be done, just like you would have to figure out with your brain. So they would give it all when they're done. The interesting thing is that you can switch off your system after giving your request, just like you tell some assistant to do it, and you can go about your business. And AI, Manus will work on it and give you later, because they will work on the cloud or something like that. Nothing to do with your system, or you chat with them and they get a reply. This is what the autonomous AI example is all about. I tell you this because I myself am reading up more about this, but this is what it is. This is the future. All competition is not on the basis of territory. It is beyond territory, because it is in the virtual world of various things. So this territory will recede in the significant thing. It is beyond territory in this scheme of ideas and things like virtual territory. They are creating territory, virtual territory. This is the way it will go, but in the short term, we'll see how it goes. This is a story that we'll have to follow, and what will come out of it will be known as we follow in a few months' time, because it is now, it is trade, and therefore it has to work itself out. So with China, this can be very interesting, because China's approach is exactly what the spokesman said. That is, you're going to have war with an equal, we are ready. Okay, that kind of thing. But with these two neighbors of theirs, Mexico and Canada, I think it is a game of haggling and somehow the other twisting their arms and all that. But be sure that they are not going to submit to bullying, and they will find other ways, because the whole world has been watching what has been going on, the humiliation that is heaped on leaders as they go to meet the president. So this is why British papers have said that American administration has been taken over by thugs and gangsters. This is what they said. So the whole world has been watching all these things, and I am absolutely sure that given the state of public reaction, both Canada and Mexico will not submit themselves to bullying by the American president.